Alright, in this tutorial we're going to look at how to make a plate from a Revolve T-spline form. What's the challenges of working with, basically creating geometry from sketches when you try to do T-spline forms. And then we'll look at how to sculpt it, and we'll take advantage of symmetry, okay, and doing it that this next time. So once again, I'm going to switch over into the create form, and I'm actually going to go in and now draw a cross-section for the revolve you on a sketch. So I'll go in and select that. So I can create sketches within T-spline environments or sculpt environments, or I can build them prior to that. It doesn't really matter. So let me do sketch, pick this plane, okay, and I'm going to use a spline tool. I want to be able to kind of sculpt it and do some nice forms with it. I want to make sure I can kind of snap as I do this. I'll come out, say about right there. Now, right now my grid's actually a little bit too big, so let me undo this real quickly. Go down here to grid settings, and let's change on, let's do 5 so it won't be super dense. Alright, there we go. Let's see, back in and do once again a spline tool. Start there. This next one I'll actually put up a little bit. Okay, and I'll click a third point right there, fourth one right above it, kind of come in and mimic what I already have there, and then finally go all the way over there. Okay, don't worry about it crossing over at this point. Now the first and the last, I made sure they're kind of right there on the center line in this case. When we do the revolve, we can tell it to use that axis, so that's good. Now what I'm going to do is use these little handles that show up to basically sculpt the spline further. To do that, I go over here and do the select tool, and on these ends, hopefully I'll be able just to click on the handle, and notice as I bring it down horizontal, it assumes you want to do something called an implied tangency, meaning that it's going to be perpendicular there. So that's, so our plate, in essence, if we do it on the bottom, hopefully it'll be nice and flat, won't have a divot or a little tip right there in the middle. Now let's see, I'll click on this one and I'll pull its handles up. There we go. Once again, apply tangency. So that's looking pretty good. Click on this one, and some of these you can just basically pull around. Now let's see if any of these will really show it. Let me do this one. There we go. So a lot of times you'll get that as you pull this. Basically it's showing you what the inscribed circle, that what they call the actual curvature. So this is indicating it's really tight there. Click on this one and start sculpting that. You can see we can make it tighter. We can kind of visualize and make it about the same, which I'll do that. Okay, and let's pick this point and then try to sculpt this handle. Okay. Now, a lot of times these are snapping to these other grid points, and when you're really kind of trying to tweak a spline, this gets in the way. So go down to the grid snappings again and turn off snap grid. And now I'll be able to kind of go back and grab these points, and as you can see, you can just really tweak it without having to worry about snapping to other points and all. Let's pull this down a little bit to make it a little bit thinner. That's looking good. Everything's working except that little corner right there is very kind of sharp. So let's see if we can kind of sculpt it. Maybe if I grab this point, pull it over, that'll smooth out that edge. That looks good. And then I'll pull this back up to kind of get a more planar kind of setup. Alright, now if I want this to be planar further out, I can grab this handle and pull that out. Notice that will continue that implied kind of tangent out further, keeps it flat basically. Okay, not bad. We'll finish this sketch. Okay, so we'll say stop sketch. There's our basic cross section. Now I'll go over to create form and do a revolve. Okay, pick the cross section. Notice it can be open, it doesn't really care. Right, go now and do axis. I can click on that axis, and there's my basic revolve. Now, several things about working with T-spline forms off a sketch. If you look closely, it is nowhere near that shape, okay? Because what it's doing is basically developing the spacing of these faces, or the edges for them, by taking 8 and then trying to figure out how to space it along using the curvature. You can actually switch this to uniform. You can see that totally doesn't work in this case, so we'll switch that back to curvature. That at least gets it closer. But as you can see, it's not quite there. And as I start adding more faces, that actually gets a lot closer, although it's still, once again, a little further off. If I go again, it actually jumps back. Do it again, it's getting closer. So you can see it kind of bounces around for a little bit. And you can really crank these up to try to get something fairly close, but I think this inside edge is just going to take a lot. Don't want all these to kind of work with here. Okay, so I will actually set that back to, let's try 9. Okay, that was pretty close. That's good. Around, because of you can do this, 8's a good starting point, but I want to sculpt this again. I want to put kind of legs in the middle of this. Okay, so I'll actually jump it up to 16. Now, what I want to do is look underneath here. Does that give me kind of an area to grab and then sculpt with? Right now it doesn't. Okay, so maybe try to bump this up to maybe, let's see if that'll do it. Ooh, that is not good. Alright, let's try, there we go. Okay, so pretty good there. Pretty good there. Okay, that gives us an area to work with. We'll go with that. Okay, now one other thing you can try is turning on symmetry. Symmetry in this case, let me go ahead and hit OK just to kind of show you. What you get with something like this is the ability to grab one face. Okay, go in and do that. Pick the face. Sculpt. Notice how it picks everything else. Okay, when I say edit form, this handle only applies to that one face, and I can really quickly grab this. And notice I'm rotating it. Okay, and it's not quite doing what I expected. I'm trying to get it to basically kind of twist, and am I doing the wrong direction? Nope. And as you can see, it didn't really do much, just pulled it out. So that's not too much what I want. This kind of symmetry is actually just way too much to kind of really work with and do something that's practical. Okay, so I'm going to go underneath the symmetry drop down here and actually clear the symmetry off of this. Okay, and you select it, hit OK, and it's all gone. Okay, now I'm going to go back in and turn back on symmetry, and I'm going to do circular again. But watch what happens when I do it this time. If I pick on one face, it shows me how, if I pick like there, I will get basically 2 lines of symmetry. Okay, at least that's the theory. For some reason it's not seeming to pick. Let's see. Well, we can do that. Now some of these are kind of got that little kind of weird shape to them. Notice if I do 4, that's there. If I do 8, actually goes away. Okay, that's actually not too bad. Now, oh, I see, maybe it was on the bottom. I don't know. Okay, I should be able to kind of pick the number of faces in it to do this, and for some reason it's not allowing me to do it. So I can use the little drop down to do it. Yeah, it's just kind of losing its mind. Alright, it's a CAD program that's supposed to do that. Alright, so now, see if we can once again try something like I was doing before. Picking a face, saying edit form, okay, and twisting this. Okay, there we go. That's what we're looking to do, something like that, to get a little bit of sculpting on the outside edge. Okay, symmetry is great when you get it to work for you like this. That's really kind of neat what you can do with it. Now I would like to actually pick another piece in here and actually drag it down, but there's nothing to pick, so let's hit OK to that. Let's go in and say modify, insert edge, pick this edge. Now gotta be careful, because if I only pick one edge, I'm only going to affect, let me see if I can do it, every other one. You get some kind of weird kind of modeling effect with it. Instead, I want to say insert edge and pick 2 of them. Okay, and notice how it highlights the rest. It's going to do it all the way around now, and there we go. Okay, good. Still not quite, but I'll go with this. Okay, so we'll go back and select one face, hit edit form, and notice I can pull this down and kind of sculpt it. Now, because it's once again, kind of connecting, there's not like an extra isoperm in here, so there's really not much that it can do. unless, once again, we twist it. Okay, and in this case, we don't really have an axis that we can twist it about. Okay, so one thing I did show is how to use a different coordinate system. Right now we're in world space. If I do view space, that's kind of our current view. Not helpful in this case, but instead if I do local, so there it orients this relative to this face. And we should see that we got one right there that we can actually kind of grab and see if we can twist. And notice that we can sculpt the bottom of this pretty quickly by doing something like that. Okay, so once again, kind of figuring out how to work with what's there as far as geometry wise takes a little playing around, but you can definitely do it.